The first photograph of a black hole looked wrong. Just a blurry orange ring, a dark circle in the middle. And yet physicists were calling it a monster, a cosmic trapdoor, the point of no return. 1400 years earlier, in a completely different world, the Qur'an swore an oath by something in the night sky using two strange Arabic words, al-khunnas, al-jawari al-khunnas. Some Muslims today say, that is the Qur'an talking about black holes. Others roll their eyes and say, that's just clickbait science. But here's the unsettling part. Those two verses are at the center of a debate that can either deepen your faith or quietly hollow it out, depending on how you understand them. And the real miracle hidden in these words is not what most videos, memes, or debates even talk about. To understand it properly, you have to go back, not to a laboratory, to a desert. A young man in Makkah, Muhammad ibn Abdullah, peace and blessings be upon him, is reciting words that everyone around him knows are unlike poetry, unlike sorcery, unlike anything. Surah At-Takwir, when the sun is wrapped up, when the stars fall, dispersing, when the mountains are made to move. This chapter is painting the end of the universe in raw, collapsing images. The early Muslims are hearing this in a world with no light pollution, no street lamps, just a sky thick with stars every single night. And then, near the end of the surah, come two very compact, very loaded verses. Allah says, "Fala uqsimu bil-khunnas, al-jawari al-khunnas." Sahih International translates, "So I swear by the retreating stars, those that run their courses and disappear." Qur'an 81:15-16, Sahih International. Two oaths, four unusual words. Al-khunnas, from the root khannas, to withdraw, to shrink back, to recede. The same root that appears in Surah An-Nas for al-waswas al-khannas, the whisperer who withdraws. Al-jawari, from jara, to run, to flow, to move swiftly. Al-khunnas, from kanasa, to go into one's hiding place, like a gazelle slipping back into its lair, or to sweep away. So a very literal sense would be the retreating ones, the running ones, the ones that hide themselves. But what is it actually talking about? When you open the classical tafsīr works, Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, Ibn Kathir, al-Qurtubi, and others, you don't find black holes. You find careful language rooted in what they could observe. Most of them say these are a type of stars or planets. Al-Tabari says they are an-nujum, the stars that appear at night and withdraw by day, that move in their courses and then hide. Others specify these are the wandering planets, especially the five bright ones known to the Arabs: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. They run across the sky, sometimes seeming to move backwards, then disappear below the horizon, almost as if they duck into a hiding place. Ibn Kathir writes that they are al-kawakib, the celestial bodies that takhnas fi majarha, withdraw in their paths, and tajnubu for al-maqarib, hide at their places of setting. For centuries, that made sense. You look up, you see objects that move, you see them vanish. You build your language, your poetry, your navigation around that. But notice something subtle. Allah doesn't just say, "I swear by the stars." He swears by a specific behavior of them, retreating, running, hiding, and he uses these oaths to drive home not an astronomy lesson, but a moral reality. Right after that, The surah continues, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا أَسَّسَ وَالصُّبْحِ إِذَا تَنَفَّسَ إِنَّهُ لَقَوْلُ رَسُولٍ كَرِيمٍ. And by the night as it closes in, and by the dawn when it breathes, indeed, it, i.e., the Qur'an, is a word conveyed by a noble messenger. Quran 81, 17-19, Sahih International. The entire scene, dying stars, tightening night, breathing dawn, is a courtroom. Allah is taking oaths by things everyone can witness to testify that this Quran is true, that it is carried by Jibril, that Muhammad is not making it up. So far, nothing about black holes, only about certainty. Centuries pass. Muslim civilization itself contributes to astronomy. Observatories in Baghdad, in Maraga, in Samarkand, scholars like al-Batani, Ibn al-Shatir, and others refine models of planetary motion. Then the intellectual center of gravity shifts. Europe picks up the baton. Copernicus, Kepler, Galileo, then Newton, then, much later, Einstein. Gravity is no longer. Things just fall down. It becomes the curvature of space-time. And in the maths of Einstein's equations, a strange possibility appears. If a star many times more massive than our sun burns through its fuel, the inward pull of gravity can overwhelm everything. No force can resist it. The star collapses in on itself. If it's massive enough, no light can escape from the region it forms. To an outside observer, the star disappears. What's left is an object so dense that even space and time bend around it. Not even photons can escape once they pass the event horizon. We call it a black hole. You can't see a black hole directly. You see stars orbiting something invisible. You see light being bent, X-rays flaring as matter spirals in, retreating, running, disappearing. But the ink of the Quran's words was dry 1300 years before any of this. And that's where the tension begins. In the last few decades, as popular science spread and scientific miracles of the Quran, videos exploded online. Some Muslim authors and preachers pointed to these very verses. Fala uqsimu bil-khunnas, al-jawari al-khunnas. They said, look, retreating, running, disappearing. Isn't that exactly what black holes are? They quoted descriptions from astrophysics. Massive stars that collapse in on themselves. Objects that are invisible yet have measurable effects. That swallow light like a cosmic vacuum. They put those next to the Arabic roots. For to hide, to sweep away. For a lot of people, especially young Muslims in the West, that was powerful. It felt like a bridge between the masjid and the science class, between Quran and cosmos. But some of you listening know what came next. You scroll a little further on YouTube and you find another video. Same verses, different thumbnail. Debunking the so-called black holes in the Quran. Someone points out, classical tafsīr doesn't mention black holes. The Quran is addressing 7th century Arabs, not 21st century physicists. Scientific models change. Should your faith really hang on a particular interpretation of a particular astronomical object? And if you're already tired, already wrestling with work, burnout, family, doubt, you start to feel that familiar sinking feeling. Who do I even trust with this deen anymore? To move forward, we need something Muslims today are not famous for: intellectual honesty and a bit of calm. First, honesty about the text. The Quran does not explicitly mention black holes. It uses rich, flexible Arabic terms for observable features: retreating motions, running courses, disappearing from sight. The strongest, most widely accepted tafsīr is that this refers to stars or planets as they appear in the night sky. They move, then set and vanish, as if entering a hiding place. That's not a modernist reinterpretation. That's what you'll find in early works like Tafsir al-Tabari and later commentators following them. At the same time, honesty about the language. Nothing in those words limits them only to what a 7th century Bedouin could understand. The Qur'an often chooses terms that are both immediately meaningful and open-ended. In Surah Ad-Dhariyat, Allah says, "And on the earth are signs for the certain in faith and in yourselves. Then will you not see?" Quran 51:20-21, Sahih International. A 7th century Arab could see mountains, rivers, tribes, his own heartbeat. You can see tectonic plates, DNA, galaxies, and yes, black holes. The word ayat, signs, doesn't freeze at one level of scientific description. It grows as your knowledge grows. So some contemporary Muslim thinkers, including practicing astrophysicists, say it's not correct to declare with absolute certainty that al-khunnas equals black holes, but it's also not wrong to feel a sense of awe when you see how that description resonates with what we now know about the universe, as long as we remember why the verse is there. Here's the key shift. The relationship between the Quran and science is not like a leaked script that spoils every plot twist of the universe in advance. It's more like a compass app on your phone. Your maps might update, roads might be renamed, entire cities might be rebuilt. But the whole point of the app is not to draw every detail. It's to keep you oriented, to make sure whatever new data shows up on the screen, you're still facing the right direction. The Quran is not trying to turn you into an amateur astrophysicist. It's trying to turn you into a servant of the one who created astrophysics. That's why, in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah describes the people of Taqwa, God consciousness, like this. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. This is the book about which there is no doubt, a guidance for those conscious of Allah, who believe in the unseen. Quran 2:2-3, Sahih International. Al-Ghaib, the unseen. That's the category many of us quietly struggle with. You can't see Jannah or Jahannam. You've never seen an angel. You've never stood on the Day of Judgment. And in an age of high-definition images from the James Webb Space Telescope, of equations and simulations, unbelief can start to look more serious, more grounded, simply because it limits itself to what can be measured. But step back. Even in physics, some of the most real things are precisely the ones you never see directly. No one has ever seen a graviton particle. No one has watched space-time curvature as a visible fabric. When it comes to black holes, not a single human eye will ever look inside the event horizon. All we see are effects, orbits, radiation, warped light. Yet no serious physicist says, "I don't believe in black holes because I can't see them." Because the evidence, the patterns, the behavior of everything around them is overwhelming. If a star is whipping around something at incredible speed, and the something is completely dark, intensely dense, you don't have to see it to know it's there. The Quran is training you to use that same intelligence, that same humility for spiritual realities. In that sense, and only in that sense, a black hole is a strangely useful reminder. The most powerful forces in your life are often invisible. Mercy, guilt, love, despair, hope. You don't see them under a microscope, but they bend the paths of human lives far more than gravity bends starlight. The unseen is not unreal. It's the layer of reality that refuses to fit into a test tube. And that is exactly what these oaths in Surah At-Takwir are doing. Allah is pointing you to the sky, to things that move in precise orbits, that drop out of sight, that withdraw, and saying, if you trust these patterns in the physical world, then trust my words about the moral world. If you accept that colossal stars can die, that entire galaxies can collide, then accept that this entire cosmos is fragile and that you will stand one day before its creator. إِنَّا فَخَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ لَآيَةٍ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ الَّذِينَ يَذْكُرُونَ اللَّهَ قِيَامًا وَقُعُودًا وَعَلَى جُنُوبِهِمْ وَيَتَفَكَّرُونَ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Indeed, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and the alternation of the night and the day, are signs for those of understanding, who remember Allah while standing or sitting or lying on their sides, and give thought to the creation of the heavens and the earth. Qur'an 3:190 to 191, Sahih International. Notice the order. They remember Allah and they reflect on creation, not the other way round. In authentic hadith collected by al-Bukhari and Muslim, when the sun eclipsed and people panicked, thinking it was because of the death of the Prophet's son Ibrahim, the Prophet corrected them. He said, the sun and the moon are two signs from among the signs of Allah. They do not eclipse for the death or the life of anyone. So when you see them, then pray. Agreed upon. Wording from al-Bukhari and Muslim. Cosmic events were never meant to be spectacle. They were meant to be invitations, back to prayer, back to perspective. In the same way, whether al-khunnas, al-jawari al-khunnas reminds you of wandering planets or triggers awe when you think of black holes. The point is not the trivia. The point is, don't let the stars distract you from the one who lit them and the one who will one day snuff them out. Kullu man alayha fan wa yabqa wajhu rabbika dhu al-jalali wal-ikram. Everyone upon it, the earth, will perish, and there will remain the face of your Lord, owner of majesty and honor. Qur'an 55:26 to 27, Sahih International. You and I live in a culture of endless content. Another documentary, another deep space photo, another mind-blowing Qur'an miracle reel. It's strangely easy to know more about neutron stars than about your own heart, to argue about the precise astronomical reference of al-khunnas while quietly drifting in Salah, sleepwalking through Fajr, feeling numb when you hear the Qur'an. But when life hits, and it does hit, you don't need a viral scientific factoid. You need orientation. You need to know when your career implodes, or your health collapses, or someone betrays you, or you're just burnt out and numb from scrolling, that the universe above you is not random, that the one who takes oaths by retreating stars sees you retreating into yourself at 2 a.m., and that he is just as capable of pulling you back into his light as he is of curving starlight around an invisible mass. So what was the secret behind those verses? It's this: the real miracle of Fala uqsimu bil khunnas, al-jawari al-khunnas. It's not that you can force them to be a neat definition of black holes. The miracle is that a short oath revealed to people who navigated by stars and had never heard of relativity can still speak to a generation that has photographed the shadow of a black hole and yet is starving for meaning. The Quran doesn't need scientific discoveries to be true, but you can use scientific discoveries to deepen your sense that its language was always bigger than any one era's understanding. And then let it do what it was meant to do, not impress you, transform you. Remember that analogy of the compass app. When your phone's map updates, it doesn't panic. It just quietly recalibrates to true north. In the same way, as your information updates, as you learn about galaxies, particles, mental health, history, your heart needs something that doesn't spin with every new notification. That's what these oaths are anchoring you to. So, when you feel that pressure at work, that unfairness in your family, that loneliness that hits for no clear reason, let that be your compass recalibrating moment. Stop, breathe, like the dawn when it breathes. Lift your eyes, even if all you see is a polluted city sky. And remember, above those clouds are stars, some dying, some collapsing, some maybe forming black holes we will never see. And above all of that is the one who swore by them to tell you that this Qur'an is not a human guess. It's a message carried by a noble messenger from the Lord of the worlds. If you want to build this perspective with a community of seekers, join us. Subscribe to Veritas Frame. Together, we don't just watch history or marvel at the cosmos. We learn how to live by the revelation that gives them both meaning